Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I don't know what happened with OBS, but we are back. Let's not worry about that too much. We're right in the game, 2.5 minutes in.
And
so
just
far.
One quick check to make sure that everything is all clear. Are we both at 2:57, 58 on the clock right now? 3 minutes just passed?
I am right at 3 right now.
It looks like I'm a few seconds ahead of you. I'll hop back just a few moments.
Yes, sorry again, guys, about these technical issues. We should be getting back.
I should be even with you. I am 3:14 right now. We're still at 3:01. Okay, let me hop back then. All right, count me in, Blaster, and we'll be ready to get this on the road. Blaster.
All right, sorry guys. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We're back. All right. Imagine that did not happen. We're on to the rift now.
I'm already imagining it.
Game number 1 between the professional Penta Penguins and team. Oh man, Croque, Monsieur. There we go. Getting closer every time.
You didn't take high school French?
No.
You aren't, or rather, you aren't taking high school French, youngin. You youngin. Gosh darn it! Get off my rift. Anyway. It looks like Zareth is having a decent time in the mid lane here, but that could just be down to the fact that he managed to get a base in. He snuck his way back to the fountain and restored a good chunk of his health. That certainly does help push the lane in his favor, but the one lane that I would like to take note of that we were so concerned for in favor actually of Stars is going his way. The Mordekaiser pick, although it's early days yet, seems to be working out pretty well for him in the laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, Trundle does get pushed around quite a bit. The biggest issue, hold that thought, actually, he's taking a ton of damage. Yeah, the biggest issue with dealing with Trundle usually is the fact that he just doesn't actually die. He can take a lot of damage, but his sustain usually keeps him healthy enough to stick around. This is definitely not the case here, as this is a Corrupting Potion start, and his passive is constantly proccing, but it just doesn't matter versus this Mord, the poke. From that magic damage, is just crazy right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Mord can also sustain pretty darn well. I mean, he may not have the same sort of passive strength that Trundle might for restoration of health, but in any skirmish, that Iron Man passive is going to serve him quite well, keeping him nice and healthy, as well as a little bit of health regen off of his the new W mechanic, relatively new. It's been a little while since the Mord rework. I'm just an old fogey who's still stuck back in Season 2, dang it.
Man, yeah, it's been a year, hasn't it, since this Mord rework first hit the Rift.
Time flies.
Yeah, really. So, I mean, we're finally seeing it come out here in a somewhat organized game. Something, the elephant in the room, really, with these two teams, by the way, if you haven't been keeping up, some people in chat I noticed have. Professional Penta Penguins are actually a bronze team that volunteered to take on Team Croque Monsieur, who are gold on average. So getting closer every time. But this is kind of an uneven matchup, an oddity in the Learning Fives program for a team, especially to volunteer and say, we will take this, either we win and they never live it down, or we lose and we learn a bunch from it. And that's exactly what the coach told me yesterday when they volunteered for this match. So I mean, a lot of confidence from professional Penta Penguins. They really want to show something here, but they don't really have all that much to lose.
And that's one of the things that I guess you got to take into account in terms of mentality. Like, oh no, Carve could be in some trouble. It looked like he might have had some sort of connection issue or something there, or maybe he just was unaware that he was in such a disfavorable position, given that Stars had hit that level 6 and he didn't have his available. That's going to tilt the lane if it hadn't already. Oh, no.
Yeah, and I think he just lost track of the levels there is what it really looked like. The pillar was kind of in an unfortunate spot, too, trying to peel. Oh, hold that thought, fight bottom.
That is a beautiful stun from Uncle Rib. The Dazzle catching both members of the opposing bottom lane as Get Grit loses about half his health. Uni gets him out of there inside of his big old belly. It's after a lot of the burst had already come down.
Yeah, and Miss Artemis really trading decently well on this Jhin. This bottom lane is dead even at the moment, though. Deb Guy a little bit caught out here.
Yeah, Asian Raven's going to chase him into his own jungle. Not really very many safe places to hide when you're in a Mumu versus a Vi. And level down, no less. Carve will show up, but he's no match for the double roam from both mid and top. Melon's going to get the speed buff off the crab just to get the ignite range. And Dead Guy goes down. That's 2 kills now. Over to the sandwiches. Croque Monsieur, pardon me. For those of you perhaps unfamiliar with French cuisine, a Croque Monsieur is a grilled cheese with ham, but in French.
Oh, here's a little bit of a fight on him.
Taking a bite out of some dazzling-looking gems. Uncle Rib flashes away, but Uni's going to flash after him, and Get Grit gets the kill. Miss Artemis is now walking casually for his life, not exactly running. He takes a few more shots on the way out, and he's going to get to safety under his turret, but at the cost of his support. Oh no, Carve. Carve, you can't duel this man.
Yeah, this is not a fight that he wants to take, and I mean, we just see it there in the damage. I mean, Stars didn't even really commit to that too much and took him down to a quarter.
Yeah, I think he backed out because he was just as surprised as I was by the willingness of that Trundle to go in. Maybe he thought Dead Guy was waiting around the corner. He didn't want the 2v1. So it was all mind games, really. Trundle was just trying to push him out of lane there with a show of confidence.
Yeah, and if we look at the gold real quick, I mean, we're already seeing quite the lead. Totally Not Zera taking a fight in the mid lane.
Yeah, Melon has him on the ropes here, but it nicely placed gravity won't get him to safety, and no! Flash. Oh, this is after level 6, too. Asian Raven was ready to throw everything in the kitchen sink at that Victor. And he just ended up with a poorly renovated kitchen.
Yeah,
follow the metaphor. I don't know.
Really not the flash that you want there overall.
No, not the sink at all.
Ooh, Deb Guy. Man, he's really trying to make something happen here, but he's still only level 5. Here comes Asian Raven again. Not going to do anything,
he's
though.
Still got that ulti, but he's not looking to make a dive happen. Not quite that confident. And Deb Guy's presence in the mid lane cost him a bit more, I'd say, than Asian Raven's, as Deb Guy needs all of that time in the jungle that he can muster up on the Zamumu pick and already having been pushed out of his jungle once. Oh, Melon gets himself a solo kill there. Pretty cut and dry. As on the bottom side, we have Deb Guy showing up for yet another gank attempt, but sadly yet another gank failed.
Yeah, I mean, the score looks good for Asian Raven right now. It's a decent start, already having assists, great. But it's really only been the catch on the jungler. He hasn't been able to make a single gank work so far. The same applies to both sides. Carve. Oh, no.
He's just not a match for this lane anymore.
He needs to
There's the ulti. It's going to bleed him out or poison him out. I'm really not sure what kind of damage over time that is.
Magical.
One way or another.
Magical poison?
Yeah.
Kind of works.
Whatever kind of noxious mixture he's carrying around in that mace, Mordekaiser certainly has a potent touch. Oh man, speaking of potent touches, Miss Artemis has some for Get Grit, who gets crit. Look at that. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
I thought of that all by myself.
Congratulations, Octavian.
Thank you.
But yeah, just kind of getting pushed around in this lane. But here comes Melon.
That guy's huge.
Asian Raven too.
Yeah, the double Amumu ulti, that's a good start. Asian Raven's going to be diving to the back line, though, and they've got the immortality granted by the Celestial Radiance, and there is no turning this fight around anymore. That's 2 down, 3 will soon follow. That is how counting works. 2 to the Talon and 1 to the Jhin.
Carve teleported down for that as well. Totally Not Zera walked all the way down and also had to flash. So really ugly situation there for the professional Penta Penguins. And now this is going to result in a dragon picked up for Team Croque. So that's quite the advantage. Plus they get, plus it's an Ocean Drake, super good early, and they still get the tier 2 top. This is already kind of a landslide lead for this the team in red.
Yeah, and if this does turn into what it seems to be turning into for Penta Penguins, which is to say a defeat, then I hope that they don't just sit back and groan at the screen and say, darn gold players, we never had a chance. there are tons of things to be learned from your worst defeats, and it's the absolute worst thing you can do as a team trying to compete, trying to get better, to just chalk it up to skill disadvantage, because the skills are not inherent to the person. You know, you're not born a really good League of Legends player unless you're in Korea. You learn that, and anybody really can. And it's from people who already know how to play this game that you can learn the best. Melon does get stunned up inside of his ulti, though, so Xerath will get out of there, just barely. But earlier, he was actually the one pushing Melon back, and now, well, now it's basically completely turned around on him.
Universe.
Yeah, Universe still has that gray health in reserve. He's going to pop that there to prevent Uncle Rib from taking him down. The heal comes out as Miss Artemis gets spat out into the world once again. Yeah, nice flash from Universe to get outside of the curtain call. He makes it to safety. Meanwhile, Melon finds himself actually getting shut down by the Trundle top, who's been just absolutely pounded into the dirt this game. So that's got to feel good for him, getting some gold into his pockets. Oh no, Deb guy.
Oh,
Deb
no.
guy, no.
Oh no,
Deb
this
guy,
is complete
this
wrong
is not a
position.
friendly neighborhood. You're just a poor little Amumu. He thought the tower was safe. It was exactly the opposite of that. And soon it will not even exist anymore.
Yeah, that was really not a good position to be in whatsoever for the Deb guy. Not really sure what happened there, honestly. I mean, there were people in all directions around that bottom tier 1, and he just... somehow he found, like, the only clear path and managed to end up in between all of them. Man, not a pretty sight still for the professional Penta Penguins. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a shot of them coming back. Throws happen, especially when, even though this is a big disadvantage for them technically, gold throws a lot still.
I've got to say I'm a little bit worried about the potential of that, though, particularly for Carve, since he's going with what appears to be a more aggressive build, and given how far behind he is in the lane, I would have really liked to see him build into, like, if he wants to go aggressive, like a Hexdrinker immediately, if he wants something with some amount of AD on it. I personally would have gone maybe just straight into the Spirit Visage against the lane that he's up against and how far he is behind, but he's built a Tiamat already that can only go one of two ways.
Oh,
and
Universe.
a lot of Trundles like to go the Ravenous.
Oh, man.
This is actually a really good opportunity here for PPP. Uncle Rib is around, though, and that means, yep, the Celestial Radiance is gonna come down. Buys him a little bit of time. Asian Raven, with just a sliver of health, is not going to lose it for very much longer. Universe goes down. It's a 3-for-1 trade so far, as Carve shows up just to maybe bury the bodies of his fallen comrades.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really all he can do. Heck, they are not even giving him time for that. He's chased off as well. The Ash Arrow is thrown in from Get Grit, but there's just nothing that can be done about this fight. Too little too late from the professional Penta Penguins, and now this mid-tier 1 is going to fall for Team Croque as well.
I think we mentioned it during Champion Select that if Croque Monsieur get rolling, they've got a composition that is just going to continue rolling. And I think one of the biggest assets they have for that sort of snowballiness is the Taric here. Right there, they actually had a potential for a good turnaround. Universe got pretty decent engage. It was followed up with, I think there was like a 2-mana Mumu ult in there, though. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no,
and
it was
then both Vi and Talon survived much longer than they should have, because of the Cosmic Radiance. It's just such a good tool for shutting down any hope of a comeback. Yeah,
and I mean, that is what Taric does best, but... oh, Universe, now caught out.
I mean, he's moderately tanky, but he is the support Tahm Kench. Didn't have a lot of gold for himself, but Melon doesn't feel up to it. You know, he's not into fishing today.
Universe really playing with his life here, I feel like. Stars finds the Deb guy. Oh, no, that's not what the Bandage Toss you want.
Yeah, and he's got the CC in his kit now, finished off that Rylai's, so he can just stick to a man forever. I don't think he really needed Asian's help there, but Asian was willing to give it with a few closed fists. And Stars will return to the top lane, the perennial home of the split-pushing Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely didn't have both of these teams sign up and think, man, yeah, Team Croque is definitely going to play Mordekaiser top here. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Before the Jhin ult even had time to unfold and fire a bullet, he was dead.
Crazy. Insane damage, particularly from Melon here. The 6-1 Talon, really an asset to this team. He emphasizes everything this team wants to do. Now he's going for a huge dive.
Oh no, this may be a little bit too huge. I mean, Melon will get the kill, but...
Execute, though.
Oh my god!
He didn't even get hit!
I was about to say Nexus turrets show no mercy, but in fact, they were merciful. Executing him before anyone could get the gold. Oh no. And there's the Cosmic Radiance coming down just in case there's any attempt at a turnaround. Lands onto all 4 remaining
Miss
members.
Artemis.
They're going to go for the dive off of that, but Miss Artemis does get pulled back in by the upgraded gravity well. Shut down, in fact, and Asian Raven will fall. The auto snuck in right before the Victor fell.
And you really don't want to be diving that far as Team Croque right now. That is a very good way to lose your lead. Miss Artemis just entirely 100% disrespecting the gravity well, and that's just not something you can ever get away with. Do not disrespect a victor. Sometimes even respecting a victor properly isn't enough.
Are you saying that Team Croque might choke? Is that what you're saying to me, Blaster?
I mean, it's a possibility.
I think it's a pretty distant one at this point, but
yeah,
I'll hand it to you that it is a possibility.
Yeah, it is very hard to throw at this point, especially with how early they've gotten these leads. Universe finds Melon. Ooh.
Yeah, he's pretty durable, but Melon has quite a bit of damage to throw his way, even through the exhaust, getting the kill there.
Not the best communication there. Deb guy threw the bandage toss a bit too early.
Yeah, they were both just kind of acting on instinct, I think, rather than any sort of actual, in-the-moment communication between the two of them.
Oh no, Deb guy.
Ocean Drake is now firmly in the grasp of Red Team, both the buff and the Drake itself. And Deb guy will fall soon after, as a solo kill gets hunted down by Melon. Whew, things are looking almost impossibly grim here. Asian Raven will get pulled back into the tower, but he's able to walk out of there still with half his health left. Curtain Call comes down. Takes about half the health off Carve.
Oh, Melon.
As the Dragon is enabling a huge push here. Totally Not Xerath will fall with Melon diving under the turret once again. Seems to be a favorite hobby of his. No more turrets to dive, though. He'll go and hit an inhibitor for a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, to take a little bit more of a, obvious outlook on this game, we might have a very, very quick series here if these snowballs are formed as quickly as they were this game. This is just absolutely brutal from Team Croque, and they are just on fire right now.
Well, what do you do if you're Penta Penguins? I mean, assuming everything goes horribly this game, there is no chance of a comeback, they lose. What do you do in game 2? Like, is there a difference in pick ban? Do you think it was compositions that did them in? Do you think it is just player skill and they just need more time to work on it? Just try and learn as much as you can from this?
Honestly,
was there a specific moment where something went wrong?
I don't really think that there was. It feels like it's just a series of misjudgments. Carve underestimating the Mordekaiser in the top lane. It definitely didn't outright lose them the game, of course, right? But Deb guy's mispositioning in a lot of fights, and I mean, there's just nothing you can do about this Talon. Not at all.
Yeah, his game is past gone, I'd say, and it really would do them well, I think, to look forward to the next one. As Melon, he never left. He's here looking for more blood. He's gonna pull it out of a mummy somehow with a few blades. Dive to the back lines even further. This man is a scuba diver. He always goes in deep. As Universe is going to get chunked out by Asian Raven there. Carve is left all of his lonesome and won't be that way for very long. He'll be joining his team in the Blackened Realm of the Afterlife. And that very well could be the way the whole game goes very soon.
Yeah. I mean, to take a bit more of a teaching perspective on this and an improvement perspective, more proper warding and more just awareness of where people are on the map is really what the professional Penta Penguins can look to improve on in the future. Deb guy... Man,
Dead guy is dead guy. Pun game is
7 times
tonight.
over.
Oh man. Yeah, I think general control is a good teaching point. And this is learning fives. It's kind of the purpose. And I can respect a team that knowingly challenges a team 2 ranks above them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because because that shows a willingness to try and improve, a willingness to try and learn what they can, and a willingness to get beat up in the process and maybe not feel so great during the actual gameplay, but still learn a thing or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will definitely be a lot of opportunities to learn from this game for the professional Penta Penguins. And I mean, that's even true for the side of TCM, I feel like. There are a few things that they can improve on. In some instances, there's not really much. But yeah, diving greedily like that, doing that too many times over, it could cost you a game. Now, in their defense, they did not do that at all. There's one mistake for each of them. Melon, wow. He has no mercy, and he is not going to let another turret get in his way of any more kills at this point.
Yeah, Melon is stacking them high. I mean, if Sword of the Occult were still in the game, I wouldn't blame him for buying it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. He would have had that 15 minutes ago.
Duskblade is just as snowbally though for him right now. It's allowing him to get that final little bit of burst that he needs. Just guarantee people are dead. Artemis, you can't quite handle that alone.
Yeah, solo taking the Baron, it's a little bit greedy, just slightly. But I mean,
not solo anymore.
This is just about as early of a Baron as you can hope for, even with this type of lead. This is the point where it starts to become slightly more safe, and this is a really clean game overall. Like. So, I said there are things to improve on for TCM, but there's really not all that much.
Dead guy using the Amumu ulti on one is going to get caught out of the front of the fight and melt almost instantly. There comes the Cosmic Radiance just to add insult to injury as they dive under one of the two remaining inhibitor turrets. Melon will fall. The laser eating away at what few hit points he had remaining. But Universe turns traitor and licks away at his own turret, tanking it up for their team. Croque, Monsieur, that is. As they shove in for what's probably going to be the final blow. The final bro! It's a very different image.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a zombie apocalypse movie about a college campus. Now I want to see that.
Oh man, just and I don't even know who you tell about that to get that made. Anyway, let's not go there right now. The game just ended. That was a very clean game. Definitely not a ton to pull from for TCM overall. There were a few instances, like I said, of overstepping, the disrespect of the Vicar from Miss Artemis, and diving the Nexus turrets as Melon. Granted, he did get a kill and didn't even get hit, so it was extremely clean nonetheless, but a little bit greedy. Overall, though, for professional Penta Penguins, they need to work on their vision control, they need to work on their map awareness. Those are two core skills that just need to be those are things you need to know in the first place. It's hard
in general. What you can improve on between like one game and another in a series isn't the mechanical plays. You know, you're not going to suddenly get much better at operating a mouse and keyboard within 5 or 10 minutes of each other, but what you can do is the just being conscious in the match, you know, constantly paying attention to the minimap, constantly warding up, that sort of thing. Things that don't require good reaction time, but instead just require being present and constantly thinking about what the next decision could be.
Yeah, well, with that all said, we do have one more game lined up tonight. So that's going to be the second game of this series. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back with game number 2 between Team Croque Monsieur and Professional Penta Penguins.
Oh, no.
Don't go anywhere.
as I fell to the ocean floor, fading light through an open door. I saw myself rise with the water. They thought they could keep me down, hold that breath and watch me drown, but all they did was push me higher. We don't care what they say, we will be here all day. We'll stay until it's over, till the world's out of sight. We will stand, we will fight, it's not over till it's over. Through the nights in the rain, through the time and the pain, we stand, we'll never fall. And then at the end of it all, we will win, we will chant, it's not over till it's over.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Learning Fives program. This is game number 2 between Professional Penta and Team Croque. I'm not even going to try the other half of that name because I'm getting progressively worse instead of progressively better, Octavian, and I feel like I'm going to be digging myself into a big hole. So, I am still Blaster Boy. I am still joined by Octavian. This is game number 2 out of 2 for this series. The bans are coming through decently quickly. It looks like we're going to see, for the most part, the same ones over again.
Yeah, Penta Penguins they were a little bit hesitant with that cannon ban. I think they might be in the process of rethinking some of their strategy, but maybe not quite decided on exactly what they want to do, as they are taking every second for what it's worth to try and think of what they could do here, even in the pregame, to just fix some of those problems that led to such a quick defeat.
Yeah, and I definitely hope that they can just try to pull it together as a whole and at least look a little bit better. If nothing else, even if you don't win, you want to end up putting up at least a bit more of a fight than that. Try to push on some of those weaknesses and make the enemy, even if you still lose, just make the enemy look worse, basically. The ending was definitely not slow by any stretch for TCM in the last game. However, there were a few things that they could have done better. There was some criticism coming from chat, particularly about some of that. And we're seeing some ban adjustments here, particularly one from Professional Penta Penguins, which is not one that we saw last game. Not even picked was the Gnar, but here it is taken off the table.
An interesting choice. Perhaps they're thinking of going with a top laner that would be countered out by the Gnar pick. Who would fall into that category? Something like, I don't know, maybe Trundle again. But I mean, we already saw that Trundle, that Carve's Trundle, it is no match for the Mordekaiser they fielded last time around. I'm really not sure what the Gnar ban is about there. The Jhin ban makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I would have preferred maybe a Talon ban or a Mordekaiser ban, but then again, there's also just the game plan of not allowing the Talon or Mordekaiser to get out of hand. And it's a little bit harder to keep a Jhin in check than it is to keep a immobile carry like a Mordekaiser or a squishy carry like a Talon in check, potentially.
Yeah, and I mean, if nothing else, being able to shut down engages, the power that we saw coming from this Taric in the last game from TCM is now been taken away by the Professional Penta Penguins, and they're pairing it with a hyper carry again, this time in the Jinx, however. So the rest of their comp will need to complement the fact that they're missing engage from their ADC. That's definitely not hard to do by any stretch, and engage on ADC is definitely a niche specific to Ashe. So, yeah, we should see some adjustments here, but, I mean, there's the MF locked in. Will not be supported.
Is a great lane bully to pick up against something like Jhin. I like that,
definitely.
Actually. The Braum pairs pretty well with it and is going to be good at just keeping the Taric and Jhin off of the MF should things go haywire in the bottom lane. Sort of a balance point between the offensive and the defensive sort of line that you can take with the Misfortune lane. You can either go like Leon and Misfortune, just go all in all day, every time, and just abuse the fact that her damage is absurd in the early game, or you can go something more like the Braum and just try and let her get lane harass and then keep her alive whenever they try and turn it around. Syndra was banned out last game, I believe, and now that's going to be coming through for Totally Not Xerath, who I would have to say, out of the laning phases of Penta Penguins, had probably the best performance on his team. His lane did just fine. Melon roamed up top lane and got a few quick kills. I think he managed to get a kill on the jungle as well, and so he snowballed out of control off that. But Xerath managed to hold his own for 6 or 7 minutes, which was really actually a pretty large portion of that game, given how quick it was.
Yeah. And I mean, even in later team fights, even when he was a bit behind, he still did deliver a lot of damage on the Victor. He still had good gravity fields. Mechanically, it felt like he really was there. Positionally, he was okay. He filled his role well enough. Now we might be seeing some adjustments here. No, same 2 solo lanes as last time.
Yeah.
Just really with a different bot lane. The jungler is the same as well. So a lot of sticking with the same for TCM. I would have liked to see them kind of push themselves a little bit maybe and try to do something a bit different, but it seems like they just want to be secure with what worked last time. But I have to wonder if these adjustments compositionally... Oh, man.
I mean, you were comparing the Mord to Alawi last game. These are like...
Man.
Alawi can sort of be called like the AD Mord in the way that it's played. Like high damage, high sustain, no gap closers. And
right. Same weaknesses, basically. But I think one of the... I mean, lack of CC... easily kited. Those are the main things.
I can't say that I'm confident in Carve beating Stars at his own game. Given the performance that we had from both of these players last game, I think Carve should have tried to pick to counter Stars rather than to just butt heads with him in a very similar sort of play style. Like something, I mean, Nar's banned out, but something like a much more like lane harass focused top laner. Kennen is banned too. They've banned all the really good counters to Mord here.
I mean, the's still like
a good
Shen
few of them left though. Like
Shen
you could even go like
could still be
Darius or something, and like try and just kill him in the early game when he's weakest. But playing the same game that he is when he is definitively not as good at it, I'd say. I don't think it's going to work out in Carr's favor.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him fall short a bit last game. Well, a bit is kind of an understatement. We saw him fall quite a bit short on Trundle, a sort of supportive carry, a top laner rather, that does not need to get ahead. He can fall behind and still be effective, but he just
Aurelia
was not super effective. Yeah, Aurelio could have been a good choice as well. Heck, if you want to go cheese, go Gangplank or Renekton or something, or go Nasus. I don't know. There's a lot of options. Poppy is open as well. Poppy's someone that we've been seeing on the world stage. I feel like Alawi has the potential to possibly beat Mord, but it's only in like a straight up fight, and I don't know if Carve will ever be allowed to get that without getting poked down, without extra resistances or a minion lead for Stars. And Stars just, again, like you said before, just played so well in the last game. Compositionally overall, I like Professional Penta Penguins' composition a bit more. They've got pick potential with the Syndra. They have pick potential with Nocturne. Jinx can follow up on that. Tarek can keep them all safe. And Alawi can follow up on any of that other engage. Although they are really kind of lacking in order to enable her properly, there is a chance with this fairly low mobility, at least defensive mobility composition from TCM, that the Alawi could still be effective.
That's very true. And, I mean, we shouldn't discount them until they do something worth discounting, until we get into game and maybe it starts to look just like last game did.
Yeah.
But we've still got a minute left on the spectator delay before we can answer any of these burning questions. So I toss it over to you, Blaster Boy.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, with all of that said, none of it matters until we see how it pans out on the Rift. This is still Learning Fives. You are still joining Blaster Boy and Octavian for the cast here. This is game number 2 between Team Croque and Professional Penta Penguins. Do not go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after this short music break.
it's tattooed between our eyes. Stand and fight under the lights on the higher stage. A part of your life they can't take away, just like the blood running through your veins.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Learning Fives program. Welcome on to the Rift for game number 2 between the professional Penta Penguins and Team Croque. They have swapped sides this time. Professional Penta Penguins are now
just given up.
taking up the red side. Yes, I gave up I gave up when we started this champ select, in fact.
I don't see why this is difficult.
TCM stacking for an invade here.
Yeah, as they did last time, they were rewarded with their previous efforts by stealing away a flash from Universe, and we'll see whether or not they get anything out of this 5-man stack, aside from a face full of dirty enemy bushes. But they're checking them out to see if they can find anybody. Yeah, Alawi's going to be finding Talon in the jungle there, and it looks like it's going to fizzle out pretty harmlessly for both sides.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they'll be getting too much done overall here. They might go for this red buff, though. Stars and Melon are both hanging around, and with where Asian Raven is
Xerath.
Oh, no, Xerath.
No, he dropped the ward in.
Very good. That's smart. That's smart. Now this kind of... Okay, this does not quite disengage the steal, but they know that the steal is happening now, so it should just end up being a buff trade.
Yeah, this is actually a really good test for Penta Penguins here. I want to see how they react to this. Deb Guy's going to be going immediately for the red buff. That has been warded up, though. Uncle Rib dropped back out of bottom lane for just a second to drop his trinket ward on the red buff camp, so they're going to spot this going on, and then we'll see how it's reacted to in turn from Croque Monsieur.
Yeah, so the way that you do this properly, by the way, is if you want to make sure that this Nocturne is completely safe, you shove the wave. Oh, Carve. Oh, okay. Good flash.
Flash down.
Yeah, so flash burned for him. Wait, Dev Guy burned flash at some point too. That's curious.
I'm not sure when that happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that happened either. There was
perhaps it was an accidental.
Yeah, that's very much possible, but should be up early enough, so it should be okay. But yeah, you definitely want to shove out bottom lane as hard as you can. I feel like they kept Miss Artemis pushed in enough that if he did want to respawn, it would have been there would have been quite a bit of punishment in losing CS, and the same for Uncle Rib as well, who actually is down in experience a bit right now. But overall, it ends up just being a red buff trade, honestly.
Once again, we're seeing an early lead in the mid lane for Totally Not Xerath. We'll see how this works out for him. A nice scout of the week. Tosses his Q a little bit too far back, though, anticipating Talon walking backwards. Carve is going to be reganked here. His flash being down, that's an easy first blood for Stars with the assistance of his jungler.
Man, yeah, it's a real shame that Carve was not able to heal up nearly enough there. The burst from the Mordekaiser is what's really going to hurt this Alawi in a lot of these fights, because where Alawi really excels is when she is able to fight on low health, because you think she's about to die, but then she heals for half her health by hitting 3 people with tentacles. Oh, get grit!
He tanked up so much of that minion wave. He took like 150 free damage from the wave trying to farm it under the turret, and that left him easy pickings for Miss Artemis. The heal is still up, though, so perhaps he could have gotten out of that one alive had he been willing to burn the summoner. Meanwhile, in mid lane, however, we've got a visit from Asian Raven, but that's all it's going to be. Nothing too impactful coming down there.
Oh, yeah, I feel like Get Grit really just needed to back up there. He saw that he was taking shots from Miss Artemis and just... I don't really know what exactly happened. Maybe just a lapse in judgment or something, but you do not stand there and take autos from this Misfortune, not even under your own turret, especially when she can't take any shots. So, extremely costly mistake there, I would say, from Get Grit. And now, Asian Raven coming in mid again.
Yeah, he's hammering home on the one bright spot for Penta Penguins here, as Xerath has actually built a somewhat reasonable CS lead for himself, 5 or 6 or so. He's basing right now, so he'll come back to a good wave or two if that's timed correctly. And already we've seen a lot more just emphasis on control from the jungler for Croque Monsieur. Ooh, Carve takes a big chunk of damage there. as Deb Guy has been resigned pretty much to solely farming his jungle for now.
Yeah, and I mean, for one thing, playing the Alawi versus Mord matchup like this is completely correct, I would say, because the champions are so similar and they both excel with leads, they both snowball very hard. It's just a matter of whether they can push that lead later into the game or not. Ganking the Alawi before she can even get her levels rolling is huge, because now the Mord is ahead and the Alawi is a bit behind. There's still room for Carve to make plays, but Stars is generally, seems like at least, not going to give him those openings. So that first initial gank is good there, and then focusing on Xerath, just as Asian Raven has so far with his last 2 attempt ganks, is the perfect choice, because he's been doing work, and this Nocturne is not going to be able to do anything for a while. Oh, fail flash.
And he finds himself in a bush with 3 members of the enemy team. Not where the Tarek wants to be. Flashes away, but Asian Raven will follow him, and there's the charged up E for the kill. Deb Guy's going to fall as well. Miss Artemis donated that gold, and that is disaster striking for Penta Penguins in the bottom lane.
Yeah, really not looking good for them again. To be really nitpicky with this Jinx, because I am a Jinx main, Get Grit definitely did not want to be on Rockets there. He desperately needed to be in minigun form, and he needed to drop the traps earlier in order to have any hope of saving Universe, but I feel like it would have ended up being fruitless.
I think Artemis and Uncle Rib could maybe have gone a little bit more aggressive there.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they have the health to work with, honestly. They don't have the heal or the exhaust, but the Jinx doesn't have the heal either. So
they were a little low on mana, to be fair.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to work with a low health Misfortune. Xerath getting ganked again. There's not really too much proper warding here from Penta Penguins. I mean, Asian Raven is just constantly in their jungle, constantly ganking from that blue side of the map, at least in the mid lane now. So they need to get vision around there. It has been placed.
And that's really the only place that Asian Raven has to be right now. He got the top lane rolling. Stars is going to easily handle himself at the helm of that particular snowball. And it looks like things are going pretty dark for the bottom lane of Penta Penguins. So it's really only Xerath that still needs to be shut down. And, well, he's fully dedicated to that commitment. We'll see whether or not he continues to go mid over and over and over again.
Yeah, and Asian Raven now looking to go top again. So just trying to push this Mordekaiser lead a little bit more. I kind of feel like he should be repeating mid, though, at the moment, just because Xerath does not have flash, and here might be the all-in.
Melon is at level 6, and the scatter the weak didn't scatter anything at all. Melon gets the solo kill. Crucial skill shot not landing from Xerath.
Yeah, he definitely... This matchup really, even leading up to that, was kind of on a knife's edge. An all-in from either one of them, man, definitely would have resulted in a swing, I feel like. And, well, we did see it there from Melon. I think Xerath could have gone for the same thing, but he just needed to play a little bit more safely. Carve getting ganked again.
Yeah, and the gank isn't even necessary at this point, as Stars finishes him off before Vi can even show her face in the lane. It was so close there, too, for Xerath. Had Scatter the Weak landed, had he even just gone with his defensive summoner spell choice. There's the flash in, on to Get Grid, as you say, the flash forward from Miss Artemis into the bullet time, taking no chances with that killing spree, and a double kill onto the fabulous Pink Man.
Yeah, really clean engage there overall. A good flash ultimate from Uncle Rib. I guess a similarly good flash ultimate from Miss Artemis, although that's not the typical way that you use Misfortune. A little bit weird, I must admit, but it did work out. That's 2 more kills for this bottom lane, 2 more kills for this Misfortune in specific. So now this is looking like another dragon and another huge snowball for TCM.
Yeah. And given the way the last game looked, I can't say I'm too terribly surprised that we're seeing this. But, I mean, we've harped on it once or twice. It is certainly a learning opportunity for both teams. I would just like to say that I'm a fan of Carve this match going a little bit more defensive with his item choice, though it's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place on Alawi because you can't really build too terribly defensive and still be useful. All she really has is damage.
Yeah,
so you've got to work some damage into
definitely.
that build somehow, unlike with Trundle where you can shred tanks and have some amount of utility, at least with the pillar. Carve is locked into some amount of damage in his build at some point, and that's why being behind on Alawi is so much more painful than a lot of other top laners. One of the reasons why, at least.
Yeah, and I have to say, I like Professional Penta Penguin's vision control quite a bit more this game. So far, it's looking much better for them, but they just haven't been able to do anything with it. At the moment, I should say that it's better. There very well may have been lapses earlier that have cost them, and I mean, there's no vision at all on the bottom side of the river right now, on the bottom half of it. Miss Artemis should not be allowed to go for this, but the Miss Stun, that'll cost.
Yeah, that might very well spell doom for Universe, who has to flash to break vision into the bush. Miss Artemis has some backup coming in as well, and Get Grid is not going anywhere. A little bit of overkill there.
Yeah, got the kill nonetheless, though. I guess whatever. Well, it didn't need to take that much, so not really whatever it takes. But they do get it cleanly once more. And they will be going for that bottom turret.
Oh, there's
Deb
the first
going in mid.
paranoia. Deb guy going to be landing the fear onto Melon. He's got the bonus AD. He can actually follow the trail, but he doesn't really want to. Could have tracked Melon through the invisibility, but the rest of Melon's team was waiting in the wings, and Asian Raven is looking to get some revenge. There's the assault and battery, and Deb guy does indeed get dunked.
Because we have a perfect game on our hands here, Octavian. The fight doesn't seem to quite be over yet, but man, it is really not looking good, and this is even cleaner of a game than last time.
And you see that damage that Miss Artemis just landed onto Universe, who's supposed to be like the armor tank. He's Tarek. Yeah. He's stacking cloth armors, or actually, no, that's Cinder doing that. No, he's just building some health, but he's still stacking armor even with just passives. And Miss Artemis didn't even land like the guaranteed crit. That was a double up off of a minion that survived the initial hit. Had that been a crit, I fully believe a third, maybe a quarter to a third of Tarek's health would have gone missing.
Oh, no Carve.
Over the wall, though. Carve chased a little bit too greedily. He has to pay with a flash of his own. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Totally Not Xerath is looking to ruin that perfect game. But he doesn't have the damage.
Yeah, and that's just really a cost of the item build here so
he's had to
far.
go defensive as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not in the wrong for building like this, but he is not going to be getting many kills anytime soon, I feel like, on this Syndra. And that is a terrible position to be in at the point where you just can't build aggressively, like, at all, because of being so far behind, being at risk of dying and trying to survive your own lane.
And I have to wonder what the plan is right here for Penta Penguins. They've committed 4 mid. I don't think there's any way in the world that they get this outer turret, and they're just kind of denying Deb Guy the time farming in his jungle. Get Grid isn't getting any solo farm either. This is something of a disorganized play, I'd say, just committing 4 to mid without really much of a plan.
Yeah, that does seem to be the default for quite a lot of players, though, I have to say. So it's not uncommon, it's not unusual for a lot of teams to just default, so let's just try to push mid and see what we can do, sort of thing. I just hope that if you do fall back to this as an organized team, or what's supposed to be an organized team, you need to be communicating while you're doing that. If you just go for the default fallback play, you at least need to be discussing what you should be doing instead and trying to execute on that.
Oh, nice spell shield. Does block the CC, but Deb Guy is outnumbered here. Gonna have to back off nonetheless. Artemis lands some good damage, dodges away from the zap, and is godlike with a nicely placed ultimate.
And just so much damage from that. That wasn't even quite the full channel, and that just melted the Dead Guy. Yeah, so just crazy damage. And again, that's also, you mentioned without the crit before the damage from Miss Artemis. That's the same thing. Bullet Time can crit now with the somewhat recent ADC rework from about a year ago.
About a year old, yep.
Yeah, you know, not bad. I mean, the critting Bullet Time is absolutely huge amounts of damage. There's the crit, yeah.
Yeah, bouncing off of a minion that it kills, taking about 500 hit points off of the top lane there. Universe does have momentary sanctitude.
Oh, the rocket!
Resulting in the perfect game is ruined. Get Grit sniping himself out of kill. And actually, Carve got a solo kill top lane. Props to the guy for that.
This might be a bit of an overcommitment from TCM. Overall, they're going to lose mid turret, at least one. They're only they were sending the Braum for a moment, but he's at half health, half mana.
Is Penta Penguins going to be pushing for the second turret here?
I think they should, but
no, they're going to back up.
I feel like they should, but if they go for this dragon instead, then that's just fine too. If we take a look, it is in Mountain Drake. So the first dragon of the game was an Infernal. So this is a little bit of variation on like last time. Last time we had 2 oceans in a row. That was really all we ever saw. So this is great for professional Penta Penguins to be picking up this dragon here. This is going to be very valuable for them.
Asian Raven is rushing his way over, though. The dragon still has not yet fallen. It's got just about 2,000 hit points left, and there's a Vi waiting around the corner.
Ooh,
Nicely placed Scatter the Weak, though.
Yeah, good stun and good traps completely cut off Asian Raven from being able to get in there. And that was even good communication on the way out. Carve was teleporting in, which is not the best to use that, but you're better off canceling it and not dying and teleporting into 5 of them just because you didn't communicate properly. So, I mean, that's a good callback from professional Penta Penguins. They're kind of pulling it together here. It's still not looking good, but they are looking improved from last time already, and that is extremely good for them.
Yeah, and it can only really be heartening to get those that turret, to get those kills, and especially for Carve, who had such a rough first game, and it looked like he was having a really rough start this time, and he's certainly not out of the hole that he dug himself into, but picking up a kill, that's going to help him get to that Black Cleaver that'll make him a relevant threat in some of these later fights, while still having the magic resist that he built early on. And maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to have something of an impact moving into the next 5 or 10 minutes. But not if Melon has anything to say about it. Oh, the test of Spirit doesn't quite land, but Carve is still getting some good damage down onto Stars. Nonetheless, Melon is there for the cleanup, though. In a 1v2, Carve falls a bit short.
Yeah, and here's a dive bottom, too.
That was a beautiful 3-man stun from Universe. Uncle Rip will get held up on a bit. Totally Not Xerath will be CC'd half to death. We'll see if he can go the other half, as that's a triple kill for Misfortune out of nowhere.
Yeah, so much damage coming from Miss Artemis here. Didn't even pop the Ghost Blade, though. That's something to keep in mind.
Didn't ult either.
Yeah,
didn't flash, didn't heal. Like,
nope.
Miss Artemis is so far ahead. No significant resources have to be burned in these skirmishes. Just auto attacks are enough to massively overpower the enemy right now.
Yeah, definitely. 10, 0, and 2 Misfortune ADC. Only at 1 item at the moment, but sitting on 2,500 gold, that is guaranteed to complete a Duskblade, I feel like, when he does go back to base. And there's really nothing else left for him to take at this point, so he may as well just recall and get down there.
He wanted some crab. He was hungry.
And he does get it, so a little bit more money in the bank. And, yeah, this should be Duskblade if he ever goes back. Stop the back again. Universe a bit caught.
Yeah.
Ooh, good traps.
Decently tanky, though, and those are some good traps, as you mentioned. Melon's going to flash away from the stun, and Celestial Radiance takes its sweet time coming down, and Tarek pays for it with his life.
Oh, no.
Melon, the initial target of this aggression, actually turns around and gets a kill himself. There's a double for the Mordekaiser as well, and things are looking grim once again. The Penta Penguins.
Back-to-back
Mastery
triples.
7 flashes over their dead bodies.
And back-to-back triples from TCM here, and this is just another very quick game from them so far. They're not quite as far ahead as they were last time, I feel like. Last time, at this point, they had taken an inhibitor already. So far, they're pushing in one consistent lane, hasn't been as good. But overall, I mean, this is their 6th turret at 19 minutes. It's hard to argue and say that that's worse than just getting an inhib and taking 3. Oh man,
there's the flash.
He's not done.
That guy still does not get away. Asian Raven makes certain of that. An inhibitor turret down means that Totally Not Xerath has nowhere left to hide. Wasn't hiding very well in the first place, walking right up at him. And the inhibitor is going to implode upon itself.
Yeah, and Get Grit has to fight with himself a little bit here, even. He wins the fight.
Wow, the duration of the ult was actually long enough. Because death time was so short this early on.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I wonder if you could theoretically lose a fight with yourself.
I mean, it gets. I think. I think the ghost gets stats from the target that it's ghosted from and a portion of Mord's stats. So yeah, definitely on paper you could end up losing a fight with yourself.
Yeah, and like Mord's magic pen applies to the ghost auto attacks as well because they're magic damage. So if he's stacked a lot of magic pen and you have like no resist or something, it's a theoretical situation that could happen and would be interesting. But I doubt we'll ever see another Mord get quite this far ahead. It's a bit of a rarity.
It definitely is, and I mean, Universe just trying to get whatever he can, but the Baron is started. This is a 20-minute Baron. This is like on the dot nearly.
That's the kind of thing that can throw a game, though.
It is, definitely. There is a lot of risk, especially with Syndra and Alawi having a lot of AoE Jinx as well. They have vision here. They're not denying the vision at all. They're taking a massive risk.
He's all alone, but he's still able to get, or nearly get, totally.
He stole it!
He actually just about survives, and there's the steal! The paranoia over the wall, the hero Nocturne! Miss Artemis will finally fall here! The Penta Penguins nearly get themselves their own namesake. They do get an ace, though.
Now they have to rush back and defend the base, but they still, they got the Baron. So they can just defend this. This is fine.
They can, but they can't do anything with the Baron. And death timers are so short right now. We're only 20 minutes into the game. They really just bought themselves time and not really much else.
Yeah, I mean, with this big of a lead, it's really hard for you to throw that away in just one fight. But the gold lead shrunk by 3,000. If you still play like you have a 10 to 11,000 gold lead with only a 7,000 gold lead, I mean, there's much more room for the professional Penta Penguins to come back now. Now their carries are getting a bit more money. Now they're getting a few more items. And that is a situation that can happen again. But it was such a stupid, simple mistake not clearing the wards. There was a pink ward in the pit.
Just letting them go for the 50-50 when you're that far ahead. The dead guy gets
not worth.
Off the map.
You take the highest probability of situations that you can for your own victory to grow a lead. 50-50 is not even a positive advantage for you.
But they're back in form. They get a pick. They get a dragon. And it looks like Croque Monsieur want to put that short rogue bump behind them as they gather in force in the mid lane. There is a split pushing Alawi to deal with. I'll have to consider that at some point since she has a Baron buff and has finished off a Black Cleaver with a little more AD behind it. Can actually take down turrets relatively swiftly. Xerath is cut off to the side away from the rest of the team, but Melon feel confident enough to dive.
I feel like one of the big things that can cost you hugely here is just getting a little bit too desperate. Now that they're down the Baron, they have to push in against Baron minions right now.
They've got the dragon, but that just perished. They've got 2 super minions left. One of the Nexus turrets will go down. Alawi is continually beating on the top side, but Mordekaiser ported back to deal with that. Now there's the Celestial Radiance come down. It's a big cooldown burn relatively early on as Dev Guy dives in the back line only to go down himself. A nice snipe again with the Chase Rocket, but a 2-man. Now make that a 3-man ulti. It's a quadra kill for Misfortune. And the game going to the sandwiches.
And, I mean, one of the big risks, getting too desperate, but TCM pulled through, and they were not desperate. They did not push their luck too hard. And they really closed that game surprisingly cleanly for that Baron play. But again, emphasis on that Baron play from TCM. You cannot afford to take something that's even 50-50 or even sometimes 60-40 when you really do want to pull out a clean victory. They were up 21-2. And they did get a lot more kills, but they also, I mean, they died a total of 8 times. They got completely wiped. The first real clean wipe that we saw from Penta Penguins in 2 games from a 10,000 gold deficit. You can't give your opponents openings like that. There's no reason to go for a 50-50. We said that a few times before.
No opponent should be underestimated, regardless of whether or not you've beaten them before, rank difference, that sort of thing. Like, there's always that 1 in 1,000 chance that you end up throwing the match. Now, of course, it is just a show match at Learning Fives. They don't have the titles, they don't have the hopes of the Western world resting on their shoulders or anything like that.
No pressure.
But,
no pressure at all, actually.
But it is still a good point to take, if you're considering trying to improve in competitive League of Legends. Always treat every game competitively.
Yeah, everything is a learning opportunity. There is a tournament at the end of the session as well. So, I mean, there are major bragging rights there to be able to make it deep into that bracket. So, making mistakes like that, taking huge risks like that can just lose you games, even with that big of a lead, is just silly. I said I wanted to see TCM push themselves a little bit more, but I didn't mean in that way. I meant with picks. I wanted to see more picks, a deeper champion pool from maybe the entire roster. Again, it is in their favor by rank. It was a show match. They already took the first game really cleanly. They showed what they're capable of. I would have liked to see them expand a little bit more in that game, but nonetheless, they still close out very decisively, very cleanly. There's not a ton of material overall for either of these teams to go over, but there definitely are points of pain for both of these teams. The Penta Penguins looked much better in the second game, but they still have a lot to work on.
Yeah. But I think that's about it for us tonight.
Yes, it is indeed. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, coming and hanging out, taking time away from Worlds, or maybe even just watching and listening to this on the side. Thank you, chat, for having such a lively conversation the entire time. It looked like there were some good tips and discussions in there, so let's try to keep that up through the session. But if you are interested in more Learning 5's action when it is not interfering with SKT versus the Rocks Tigers, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or about 9 p.m. UTC, we will have another show match here, a European one this time, between Team Not Safe for Warning and Team Doesn't Care, and it will be casted by the returning Octavian and the new kid on the block, Enderell, a recently drafted caster for the Learning 5's program. So be sure to be here and check it out and hang out, especially if you're a European fan. This is a much better time for you guys. Go ahead, if you're new to the program and want to hang out with us or get any contact information, go ahead and scroll down below and look for our Twitter icon. It is absolutely huge. You can't miss it. And I believe there's a Discord link on there as well if you would like to come and hang out in the public chat, maybe even sub in for a team or just look to secure your spot in the next session. But with all that said, that will be it from me and Octavian tonight. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you did enjoy. We will be back soon enough with much more content for the Learning 5's program.